Welcome to the 31st episode of the SYNTHO podcast. Today I am joined by a real legend, Tristan da Cunha. He's an artist that I really respect, both as a musician and as a person. He's a real legend. I've been to his stuff for years. I've seen him DJ multiple of times. He's just a top guy, and it was great to speak to him. And this is one of the reasons I do the podcast, to get to know people better that I already know, because you see these people out and about and speak to them on Facebook, but having a real conversation for X amount of time uninterrupted is really good. But there was a few technical hitches later in the podcast where my camera decided to cut out, I think, a battery malfunction. So there may be a few bits where it's a bit choppy. If you notice them, please forgive me. And at the end, it's not quite a smooth outro, and I can't figure out why. Well, we've done 31 episodes with reasonable smoothness, so I will just accept this one. And before we begin, I want to ask everyone, could you please subscribe, comment, like the channel? If you listen on YouTube, it really helps. It's not only does it kind of spur me on to keep going, it helps more people discover it, multiple reasons. And if you're on Apple, I think you can leave a review somehow. So if you just click, find, do a little review, it's going to help a lot. And the last thing before we begin is the podcast is sponsored by SYNTHO. That is my own electronic music teaching platform, which is helping producers take their music to the next level. And if you make music or you want to start, hit me up or go to the website and find out more. So yeah, let's begin. Tristan, Josh Baker for an hour and a half or so, talking and dropping some bombs. I know, we're going to do a part 2, so we barely even spoke about some of the stuff. Like, Tristan's been in this 20-odd years. We didn't even start to begin to talk how he's done it for 20 years. We just had a great catch-up and a bit of a background about him. So, let's go. We are on. So, we're finally here, mate. We got round to it in the end.
We made it. I know. Gosh, I was having a panic then, thinking like, have you just left your charger on a wall on the way home or something? And somebody would have just thought, oh, somebody's left that for somebody to take. You know what I mean? Because that's what people do now. They just leave stuff outside their houses just for people to take. And I just had this image of me getting my sunglasses out of my bag or something, hands full in a bit of a flap, just leaving it somewhere. But I got down here and it was kind of where I thought I'd left it, which was on the door. So. Gosh, that was a bit of a panic then. I was like, I had my dog in the hand, I was like this, sort of running down to the studio.
So it was actually outside?
Yeah, it was outside, yeah, it was. But luckily it was outside the studio, which is all gated off and like sort of secure. So have you got a decent signal here and stuff? Because the internet isn't like amazing at the studio here, which to me isn't a bad thing because it helps me get on with a bit of work. But are you all right with the signal here? Because I can.
It's all good, man. Because this platform that I use, Riverside, it records us separately, then uploads afterwards. So there's like nothing, any connection problems. It just records it separate. So it's really actually really good.
That's brilliant, man. Because that was obviously where a lot of the other platforms fall down, isn't it? It's like.
Yeah, I was doing Zoom for so many. Yeah, I did Zoom for so many. It's really annoying because a lot of them were such great conversations. But with Zoom, man, it's like when two people talk, it cuts one out. And then, if it lags and all that shit. But yeah, this one is actually really efficient and it's been good so far.
Excellent. Let me just pause my box. It's downloading a load of stuff.
So how have you been anyway?
You know what, mate? I've been really good. Just generally, everything's been cool, man. You know, obviously there was like, when the pandemic first hit, there was the initial sort of adjustments that needed to be made. Mainly financially, really, but I'm kind of really lucky because I've got a house and I pay a mortgage. It's not that expensive, and my living costs are quite low, so it wasn't hard for me to really adjust. Having all the extra time and headspace was really welcome, actually. I didn't really know at first. I think like a lot of people, once they took the foot off the gas, they didn't quite realise how fast they were going, you know what I mean? So it was really nice to kind of pitch it down a bit in a DJ term. And just kind of, take stock, reflect, project, do you know what I mean? Think about, where I'm at, take stock a little bit. And and obviously, like, you know, one of the main things that we've got in life to exchange for the things that we want is time. So I had a load of time to kind of exchange for things that I wanted to kind of, you know, invest my time in a bit more. You know, when they say time is money, it's actually really true, because, you know, you have so much time each day to spend on things. And if you think of it as money, then we probably wouldn't spend, you know, if you had 24 grand in the bank each day and you think that 24 hours, you probably wouldn't spend so much money or time on some of the shit that we actually do. So it was nice to just kind of be able to spend a lot of time with my family, and at home, sort of, you know, sprucing up the nest a little bit and stuff. And then also I got this place that I'm in now, which is my creative space, my studio, so to speak, which is 10 minutes down the road from me, in an old fish and chip manufacturing, like we used to manufacture fryers and stuff for fish and chip shops. And it's just an old kind of warehouse, basically. And yeah, I basically, this place cost me 50 quid a month, bills included. So
Sick.
it's crazy.
Yeah, I think the time thing is one thing we've all realised during this, that it's not, true wealth is not having the most money, it's having time and being able to use your time and do what you want with it. And
Well,
I
this
think
is the
we've
thing, Josh, as well. Like, you know, for me, when people say, you know, well, it's like, you know, what is success? You know, and for me, success is being able to do things on your own terms, and use your time for what you want and to make you happy. And that, to me, is real success. You might not have the biggest bank balance, but if you are waking up each morning, jumping out of bed, looking forward to doing what you've got to do that day, or executing your list of stuff that, you know, is on your sort of like, you know, bucket list or whatever, or, you know, you're beaming the dream, or, you know, you're sort of, you know, just focusing on what you want to do, and pointing you know, the compass in your heart's direction, sort of thing, you know. So yeah, I mean, I've always been like that, you know. And I think being an artist, being a creative, you have to be able to ride that train, as well as, you know, be able to like say, okay, well, you know, I might not have all the money to pay the bills this month or whatever, because everybody who's creative has to go through that sort of sticky point, you know. But I have got the time to do what I want, and also to make shit happen as well. So, you know, I'm very grateful for that, you know. But it's come from having made certain choices, taking leaps of faith, and trusting that the universe, without getting too spiritual, but, you know, if I follow my heart and I put out, you know, my true desires from there, then the universe will kind of work in concert with me, and in symphony, you know. So, you know, once you kind of switch into that mindset, you can kind of relax a bit about it, you know, and things always turn up. So, you know, going back to the sort of money thing, you know, if I've not actually had enough money for the month or something, and I've been a bit like shit, or what am I going to do? Next thing I know, a gig will come through the door, or something will happen, and then it will just be like, oh, brilliant, that's it sorted then. So life does, you know, work in mysterious ways, you know.
And I was looking on Resident Advisor before, and I don't know if it's correct, but when I searched Tristan da Cunha on Resident Advisor, it had a gig backdate to 2004. Was that you under that alias, or was that?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I probably didn't join Resident Advisor till pretty late, to be honest. I don't know how long they've been going, but I know it took me a while to kind of get any kind of profile or anything up on there. I just wasn't bothered at the time. I'm still not really that bothered now, to be honest. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I've been DJing since like, you know, late 90s. Well, actually, before then, to be honest, I started collecting records in 94, and you know, that was when I was 15, and first started going out. So I was just literally going out and hitting the shop straight away afterwards to try and uncover some of the music I was hearing at the weekends. And then I got some decks for my 18th birthday, which would have been 96, 97. And then literally 2 years later, I was playing at Back2Basics and stuff like that. I had my first gig literally about a year after I got my decks in town at a club. I hooked up with this collective called Moving Beats, and they kind of got behind me and booked me for a gig, and the rest was history from there, really. But from getting decks to getting kind of a residency in the space of 2 or 3 years, I thought it was quite impressive, really.
Yeah, it's insane, man, because a lot of people always talk about when you're right to go and play your first gig and all that stuff, and usually I would say 2 years isn't that long, really, to be diving at the deep end, especially at a night like Back2Basics.
But you know what it's like, Josh. When you get your decks at first, your parents don't, or whatever, they don't see you. You know what I mean? You're gone. You're in your room there, like all day, all night, playing the B sides, the C sides, the Z sides, everything, rinsing your records out, just getting, that's all you want to do, and so the kind of level of learning is so accelerated because you're putting so many hours into it. I don't really do as much now. I mean, I've kind of said to myself, I'm going to write a list of how I can really further myself within that field, and obviously spending more time mixing at home is one, again, going back to that is one of those things, because I think, to be a great DJ, you've really got to know your records, you can have those times where you buy a bag of records and you get them out and you play them at a gig and everything falls into place and stuff. But I think to be a really great DJ and to have that confidence, you really need to kind of understand the music you're playing, and not just understand when shit happens in the records, but understand the energy levels and the vibe in them and kind of what that does. What mood that creates as well. So is it a beginning record? Is it an end record? Is it a middle record? Is it kind of an after hours thing or whatever? You know what I mean? So understanding the context, I think, is what I'm trying to say. So that's really important. And that only comes with really fucking about a load of them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, when you talk about that and knowing your records, two people come to mind straight away: Nicholas Lutz and Craig Richards.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and the funny thing is that they don't really practice or anything like that. They just listen to the music, But they're also rolling around with a bag of records that they keep for months and months. Do you know what I mean? So they kind of know that sort of exactly what I was on about. And I've spoke to Nicholas again before, I've seen him, we've been chatting and he's just got his bags in a mess and stuff. And I'm like, mate, are you running a tight ship or a shite tip here? He's like, yeah, I know what I'm doing, and he puts his records in his bag in order of intensity. So again, that's what I'm talking about in terms of he can go through his bag knowing that by the time he gets to the back of his bag, he's at a certain point within his set. You know what I mean? Towards the end, or maybe sort of back end of it or whatever. So that was interesting for me to know that. Craig, I don't think has so much of a method, although I know Craig, listens to his records a lot. His flat, he's just got one record player in London. This is in his house. He's got full on DJ setup and stuff, but in London he's got a flat in the Barbican, and which I stay at regularly, and he's just got one deck, an amp, and we just play records. When we go around there, it's just listening. So there's no mixing going on. So yeah, that's a great way of obviously listening to your records, because I think sometimes when you're DJing or when you're mixing at home and you're mixing records, you've got the record playing, but you might be listening to what the other record's doing, so you're not properly listening to the record, do you know what I mean, and really absorbing it. So I think it's important to actually just step away from the mixer, the headphones, and just literally put the needle on and let it play. I think that's really crucial to understanding the tunes.
Yeah, because there's been times when I'm like, right, I really want to digitize a lot of my collection, just because playing international gigs, playing wherever you are. I spoke to Enzo once, and he said every record he buys, it gets digitized. And I think if you're taking this super seriously and thinking about the long game, it's definitely handy to have. And when I've actually had sessions ripping records, it's crazy how much I've actually learned about the tunes and then saw them in a different light as well. Because, man, over lockdown, I've been awful for it. Buying records and barely even playing them, because
Yeah.
I don't know, it's not the same spinning at home. So I've probably got like, I don't know, probably like 50 odd records that I really don't know that well. Whereas I've said this on other podcasts, I think going to weekend, it's really easy to stay on top of your tunes. Whereas now it's kind of like we're back at square one, and I'm kind of nervous about kicking it all off again, because I've not really got that backbone of the set, which I kind of built towards before all this, where it's just an evolution of the last in a way.
Yeah, I think. Well, two things I want to say there is, obviously, digitizing your music and stuff like that. Yeah, it does take a lot of time, but it is a really great investment, especially if you're a working DJ as well. I think it's really worthwhile to have that backup as well. Just so you can roll, in any situation. The amount of time to get to a gig. It doesn't happen so much now because, everybody's kind of a bit more switched onto it. But there was a period where you'd get to a gig and the decks would just be full of dust and it'd be a nightmare, feedback everywhere and stuff. So you really have to have that backup there. And then on top of that, I this is why I really enjoy buying music on Bandcamp, even though it can get quite expensive with the postage and stuff like that. But, you buy a record on Bandcamp, and then you get the digital as well. So it's great. You know what I mean? You've just got both areas covered then. You don't even have to rip anything, So, and a lot of times, I will get in touch with the artists or the labels and just say, I've got your record. Can I have the digital as well, please? Because, I'm working on a mix, or I'm traveling or whatever. And 9 times out of 10, they'll get back to me and they'll send it to me, no problem. I can do some swaps with them and stuff like that. So I kind of try and trim it down a little bit like that without having to put the needle on the record so much and have to have, this whole burning process, which can be quite tedious. But as you say, really good for listening and learning your records. And I think maybe you could turn it into a bit of an exercise and a bit of a routine. Is like have a listening session, but while you're listening, just burn it. Have it set up like mise en place. So, you can just literally put the needle on the record and press click on your laptop or whatever and have a little process that just doesn't take too much. You can clip it, truncate it, just, treat it how you want. You can leave it dry, or you can add a little extra, boost or whatever if you want. And once you get into a little routine or a little habit of things, it can kind of start, you get a little roll. And all it takes is for you to maybe do 10 of your best tunes a week or something like that. You know what I mean? Not everything has to get, make it to the USB or the hard drive, and if you do 10 a week and you've got 40 a month, then, that builds up then. So it's kind of, breaking it down so it doesn't seem like such a mammoth task. Because when you look at your big box of records, you're like, fuck, So I think, just kind of thinking, okay, well, this week I'm going to pick 10 of my best that I know I'm definitely going to hammer this summer, or this gig, and then boom, just do that, and then that's 10. It's like, kind of almost like making tunes, like make one a week or something, or 2 a week or something if you can, and then that's 4, 8 a month. You've got 2, maybe an EP or 2, if they're really good, So you can just break things down a little bit. I think that's what I've had to do for myself, because I get really overwhelmed thinking about everything, and I've got so much other stuff on as well that, it's really easy to be overwhelmed by, some tasks. You know what I mean? You need to get good at time management and planning and stuff like that when you're kind of juggling a lot of things.
Yeah, totally. So before all this, did you have a routine when it was gigs every weekend? Did you have like your Thursday listening sessions, or were you kind of just...
was recover. Mostly the routine was recovery, and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'd probably start thinking about, what the gig was, if I had to do some research on it, if I had to, reorganize my bag. Sometimes the bag would stay closed until the next gig, and I just rock up with the same bag, and maybe a couple of new tunes that slipped in it, squeezed into it. It's always that packed, and then just upload the new bits onto a record box and stuff, So it wasn't so much of a routine. I never liked to kind of get too kind of worried about it, or even like I found it really hard to prep sometimes as well, because for me, there's a big part of what I do is this dialogue between the audience and the crowd, the dance floor, So trying to imagine what I'm going to do at home and prepare and pre-prepare and stuff like that, just used to really make me lose hair, because I used to bang my head against the wall. I'd mostly discover what wouldn't work rather than what did work, and then I'd kind of build up,
Go from week to week, kind of, and just grow from there.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So, and I just find that once you drop a couple of records at the gig, and then you just become in the now. Then all that anxiety and sort of like nerves and pre-match nerves and stuff just disappears, and you just get in the now, and then that's when just the kind of magic happens. Then you know what I mean. Things just start happening, and I've been at gigs before where nothing's been planned, and records float out your bag like dynamo. Do you know what I mean? It's like put it on the deck.
They're the best ones.
It works, I mean, you saw me play at Mint that time. That was.
I was about to mention that one. Because that was to paint the pitch for everyone. Houghton got cancelled. Like everyone, I think the nation of ravers wanted to cry. It was the weirdest thing ever because it got cancelled on a Thursday. We were like, I think I was on the way to the Trafford Centre to go and get myself the final rig out for the festival, like the last few bits, and then I saw it. I was like, this can't be real. You just think this could not physically be happening because there's like all that anticipation from the year before.
I thought it was a joke when I got the message.
So did I.
I was like, no,
yeah.
You're having
yeah.
It wasn't. I was just like, what the.
Yeah, because we'd got everything sorted, all the party goods, everything was ready. The taxi was ready for the next. We were going on the Friday because we tactically wanted to miss the Thursday and go full steam ahead on Friday. We did it the year before, and then they said it's off, and it's like I think you almost write off that next week, don't you? Because you're partying, you've got nothing on for the foreseeable. And then we ended up partying on the Thursday. Like me and my mates had a really sick little.
You got all your goodies.
Yeah, exactly. So we really had a big one. But then it's so funny because the next day you wake up and you're in your own bed. You're like, oh my god, I'd do anything to be in a tent right now, freezing. And then Mint. Everyone tried. It was really amazing to see, wasn't it? London, everywhere put on parties. Everyone came together, and Mint did the infamous terrace party, which you closed, didn't you?
Yeah, I closed the terrace.
Yeah, and it was honestly, man, you just seemed to bring a real show. It was a show what you did, and you just seemed to be completely in the moment, and it was like it must have been one of the best shows you've had. That because it was just like the place was rocking.
Yeah, that year it really was. 2 seconds. It really was. It was. I think just. I don't know what happened. I got off the decks. I was like, "What the fuck happened there?" It was insane.
You played that Gene track. You played a Gene track, the with the big snare. Then you played a vocal on top of it, and I remember it was like a real.
I had that
kind
running
of
for like 2 tracks.
Yeah.
I had that.
Yeah.
Just like literally bringing it in and out, and people would just go mental, and I dropped it, and it just went berserk. And yeah, I mean that was just it was just a great set. I was just in full flow, and that was a kind of an example of. When you are in the zone and you feel fully relaxed and, you're just having a good time and you're pretty much on the dance floor with everybody else. That's where I was, you know what I mean? I was there, you know what I mean? I was feeling everybody's energy. And that's what I'm saying about me. I'm only as a DJ, I'm only as good as the crowd in front of me. Do you know what I mean? So, and I really feed off that. So the more I get, the more I give, you know what I mean? And I could really kind of let rip on that one. And playing at Mint's great as well, because they always have a really tight setup. So vinyl was on point, everything was on point, you know what I mean? I mean, I could just do what I wanted to do, which was kind of how Houghton is as well, really. And obviously, for Houghton, you go fully armed to the max, do you know what I mean? It's all weapons of mass destruction. So that set was just literally annihilation. Everybody was just getting totally hammered with all the, the latest artillery, which was a really good set of stuff. There was some great stuff that I had that was unreleased and that had just come out, and the vibe was really kind of up there, slap funky, garagey, Gene on Earthy, sort of like energy level was really, really high through the set, and that's just what people wanted. I think they just needed that release,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, I mean, people still talk about it now, and I was so grateful because a lot of people, they kind of said that made their weekend for them, really, you know, that set, because they were so down in the dumps about not going out, and that kind of made it sort of slightly worthwhile. So as a DJ, I felt quite satisfied after that because I felt like I'd done some good, you know.
Yeah, I think it's one that people still talk about, which is something I really hope one day I'll deliver these sets and people speak about them for a long time. So I think that is one you'll remember it forever, I reckon.
Yeah, of course. You know, you never forget. I mean, you never forget the bad ones. You never forget the good ones. You know, it's like, you know. So it's well, you do. Maybe you forget the bad ones. I don't know. They stick with you a little bit sometimes. You know what I mean? They can kind of hang around. You know, it's not quite like the finals at Wembley sort of vibe, but
We can't mention that.
I know exactly. I won't go there. But you know, yeah, the good ones, obviously, you know, they kind of really nourish you and remind you about why you do what you do, and you know, all the bad ones and all the mediocre ones kind of build up to that. They're all part of that. You know what I mean? You can't have the amazing ones without having some of the average ones. But you know, on a whole, my kind of average to great gig is I'm much more. I have many more great gigs than average ones. To be honest, I'm quite. I wouldn't say really selective, but I make sure that I'm playing at the right places, and I'm making the right choices when it comes to where I lay down my vibes, so to speak. You know, I say no quite a few times.
Yeah, that's something I've got down as well. The impressive affiliation with a lot of great parties like Slapfunk, Houghton, Gotwood, and it must feel really good to be associated with such. I use the word credible. I mean, they're playing good party music, which is not on the cheesy spectrum, but it's still a party, and there's a very small threshold of artists that really fit that mold. As a booker for a festival and a club night, there isn't actually many artists when you start writing down who you can trust to come to your party and deliver a service which people are going to enjoy. There's obviously a lot of really cool DJs, but some of them you run the risk of kind of going a bit too left field. The people may not get it. Then also you've got your other ones that they'll make the party amazing, but not necessarily going to satisfy the chin strokers itch, and deliver music which is kind of interesting. And are you aware that you're kind of in that really good middle ground of the credible records, but also delivering a party as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think that's just kind of, what I've always been about, really. I mean, obviously, having my basic training at Back2Basics, it's a party, do you know what I mean? But it's a fucking serious party. You can't go there with any kind of, bullshit, skills or records, because in Yorkshire they'll let you know what I mean? So you really have to kind of be on point with that. And I've always just played music that I absolutely love and that makes me move and makes me feel good. So when I play it, I think that translates. And I'm very aware that it's just a party as well. You know what I mean? People want to go and have a good time. So I'm not afraid to drop a classic here and there. I'm not afraid to drop a party pleaser at the right time. And I'm also not afraid to drop a curveball or a bit of a weirder record in the right context as well. So and I think everything's just about context, really. So it's just understanding that and having that experience to be able to go to these different places and understand the different dynamics of each party. So playing at a Slapfunk party is different to playing at a Gotwood party or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So just knowing the different sort of flavors and ravers, so to speak, that really helps. And having the kind of diversity of music as well. Not just, I've never wanted to be just a one trick pony. Do you know what I mean? Or just stick to one particular sort of splinter of a genre. You know what I mean? Which some DJs do very well at. But I'm quite as comfortable playing a boogie disco set as I am playing, you know, a Detroit electro set. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's nice to be able to, you know, count on my hands all these amazing things that I'm involved in, from, you know, Glastonbury to Houghton to Gotwood to Love International to, you know, Slap Funk, and, you know, all in the past I was part of the My Lovers Underground crew and all that sort of stuff as well. So, you know, yeah, it's just great, and it's just I think it just reflects me and my kind of vision of like, you know, I'm always looking for the good stuff, you know, and trying to be part of that, you know, rather than just I don't know, just settling for second best, really. You know, I always want to go with the best.
Yeah, because I think the common theme between a lot of them is that the crowd there is going to be a crowd which is there for the right reasons as well, but to have a good time as well. And that's what I always say, that no matter what we think, it is only just a party, but it's good to go to a party where people are there for the right reasons.
Well, this is it, and really the right reason is the music. You know, that's why you go. You know, obviously, and to be around people, but you can be around people in other contexts, in other situations. Do you know what I mean? But people come out clubbing to a party because there's music there, and so if you know, add the right ingredients to the pot, you're going to get, you know, the best flavor out of it. You know, and that's the same with the party. If you put the good music in, then you'll attract the good people, and then those two together are going to create a good party. You know what I mean? 9 times out of 10, you know. So, yeah, I mean, gosh, I mean, there's nothing better than playing a great party, you know, and seeing the dance floor just frothing and going off. It's brilliant, and it's just going to go nuts. You know, when things go back, you know, I mean, I was supposed to be playing at Brett this weekend, actually, for the Slap Funk party. But as you know, obviously Amsterdam's just been, and the whole of Netherlands has just been sort of knocked back again until late August. So fingers crossed. Get to do it in August, but you know, I was chomping for that. I was just like, oof. I was like, I don't care if I have to isolate, whatever. I'm just fucking going. I'm doing that. You know, I mean, that's one party that I need for my soul and my spirit. You know, I mean, just to get me back on track. You know, I mean, to see all my down fam, my, you know, Slap Funk family. You know, they're just like, you know, so dear to me.
So is Brat a club which is one of the favourites for you?
Yeah, hands down. I mean, yeah. I mean, for the Slap Funk parties, especially, I think the Slap Funk crowd at Brett is just a match made in heaven. And I just love the Netherlands. I love Amsterdam. I love the Dutch. They're kind of, you know, really on point and serious about having fun. They get all the details right and stuff, but they're also a little bit goofy and a little bit sarcastic. So as a Yorkshire man, you know, that goes down really well with my sense of humour as well, you know, because they can take a joke and they can, you know, have a laugh and laugh at themselves as well, you know. Whereas some of the countries aren't so great at that, you know.
Yeah, Germany maybe.
Yeah, so that, I remember you chatting to, yeah, well, I'm not saying anything. I remember you chatting to Brother as well, and him saying Hide&Seek as well, and that's just an amazing party as well. It's got a very similar spirit to Brett, small, compact. Everybody's there for the vibe of the party and the music and the people, and so that's definitely up there, top 5 for sure.
Yeah, I think the Dungeon Meat project, which we'll come on to a second, seems like almost a match made in heaven with the Slap Funk sound.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's it. I mean, I think we both kind of really kicked off around about the same time, I think. And I think we both, you know, I mean, I remember actually clear as day, Sammy and Jeremy, Brother and Jeremy Underground went to Amsterdam to play when Slap Funk was just launching, and My Lovers Underground was like the hottest thing in Europe at the time. And they went over to play there, and I was already friends with Brother and Jeremy, and Brother came back and he was just like, dude, you've got to meet these guys, man. They're just like me and you. They're just like us, you know, like we get along. You're going to get along with those guys so well. So there was just this amazing kind of kinship, you know what I mean, that we had, and connection, not only musically but spiritually as well. Do you know what I mean? As people, and as you know, within the way that we saw music, and the things that we liked about it, in the way that we dug for music, the records that we, you know, were playing and stuff like that. There was just a lot of common ground, and yeah, I mean, you know, that's it. So we just hit it off, and instantly we just you know, had this alliance really, and yeah, the rest is history really. You know, we're kind of, you know, part of the family, and obviously there's many of the Dutch family that have made it onto the label as well, you know.
Yeah, because there's I can't remember which Slapfunk record it is. It's the Anil Arish track on one of the first ones, but I even bought that back in the day, but unknowingly wouldn't be aware of the
on the EP, the various EP.
It's a Raw Joints one, yeah, and it was like it was such a Sankey's anthem back in the day. So like the Fuck Off track as well. I'd go to Sankey's when I was 18, and like you'd hear these just massive tracks, and I'd be like, what the fuck are they? And then end up getting the record. But little did I know back then, the kind of, I don't know, you wouldn't really think how it's going to prevail, and then now Slapfunk is massive, and then obviously you guys are playing there.
They've just kind of, you know, they've just plowed away. They've made it happen themselves, really. You know, they've put their own parties on. They've carved out their own path. They've put their own music out. They've created their own crew, and I think this is a great example for people who are wanting to make something in the industry or the undergrounds, whatever you want to call it these days. You know, it's got to be a lot of DIY like that. You know, and that's what these boys have done. You know, they've worked really hard at it, and then having platforms like ADE, you know, throwing these legendary parties at Brett and stuff. You know, you've got like all of the music industry from all over the world. It's like the new Miami Music Winter Conference. Do you know what I mean now? But it's in Amsterdam, and you know, you've got like the biggest DJs, the biggest promoters, the biggest, you know, bookers and stuff like that, all going to these small parties and seeing these boys play and absolutely annihilate it. Do you know what I mean? I think last time we played Brett, we had literally about 8 gig offers off the back of that. Do you know what I mean? You know, yeah, people, you know, Martinez brothers were just like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? We played before them, and they were just like, you could tell they were a little bit nervous about going on afterwards, because we absolutely smashed it. Do you know what I mean?
I was in Amsterdam, but we couldn't get a ticket, and at the time I didn't really know them guys at all, and I don't know, I didn't want to be that guy trying to get the guest list and all that shit. But I remember finding out that
next time you can call me back, you know, I'll give it for you.
Yeah, because the Martinez Bros played after. They played after you, right, at Brett, but unannounced, didn't they?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And for my own curiosity, what did they play like? Did they adapt their style for that party, or was it kind of more of a typical Martinez Bros thing?
They did actually, yeah. They did. I think they got down to the party early enough to absorb what was going on, and they were in the booth. They were like, yeah, like, you know, just loving it. You know, they were really nice guys actually. I've met them a few times, and they've been supporters of Dungeon Me and stuff, and I've always hooked them up, you know, a test press or something if I've been, you know, because I really respect what they do. You know what I mean? I think they're really clever kids, and you know, they've made, you know, a great mark for themselves, and so, you know, and again with Jamey Jones and people like that as well, we've always had, you know, support from all angles really, you know.
Yeah, I remember Jamey Jones played the Lose Your Mind a cappella in DC10 when it was like, I don't think it had come out yet, and he played like and it was just like in the terrace. I was only 18. I was like, what the fuck is that? And then it came on Dungeon Me, but he liked that one.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. So we've always had, you know, that's like, I think that's what's been our success really, is we've never really kind of turned our back on any of these things. You know, we know what we like, we know where we want to be playing and who we want to be associated with, but you know, we're not exclusive and like, oh no, they're playing it or this and that. You know, it's all a bit like, you know, too cool for school sometimes with some people. You know, so we just embrace all the support that we get, and we're very grateful for it. You know, no matter where it comes from. You know, so it's been great to see people like those support us. But in answer to your question, yeah, they played pretty housey. There was quite a few people sort of asking when we were going to go back on or when.
Oh, I hate it when people say that, man. It's so awkward, isn't it? When that
No, it is
classic.
a bit awkward.
I
It's a bit
know.
awkward. Give them a chance, you know what I mean, sort of thing. But you could tell that the vibe had changed, you know. And then afterwards, Indie Visions went on, and obviously the level went up again, and it was Benny as well. Benny Rodriguez had played with him as well. So yeah, it was But I mean, those parties are so good. I mean, I played at the one before with the Ghost, and who else was on? It was Ghost and somebody else. I'm trying to think who else it was. Me, the Ghost, somebody else. I can't remember now. I was there nearly 24 hours for this party, and I think with a couple of nips to my hotel room or whatever to maybe change the t-shirt. And I didn't hear one bad tune, not one, all fucking day, all night, not one bad tune. It was just literally just quality all the way through. So, that just says a lot about how these guys operate.
I think it's a similar thing to Houghton, where if you're playing Brett, I got the chance to play there like about 2 years ago now. You just go the extra mile, don't you, and just double make sure that there's no shit tunes in the playlist as well. You're making sure that everyone is there with a purpose.
And I think you just feel it's the way that Brett's set up is, and the way that the booth is as well. You just feel really comfortable, and you feel really like a part of the party. You know what I mean? So, which I think is so important. When people are designing clubs and spaces for people to dance in, that the DJ is part of the whole thing. All these booths that are like up here in the distance. So I like a little hidden DJ booth. It's great. I love that. But it still has to be a little bit on ground level or something where people can connect with who's on the decks. So I think Brett's really good for that because you've got, people sat behind you. When they open it up in summer, you've got the window open behind you and you've got the dance floor in front of you. You've got people up there. It's just like the party's just on you and in you, and you're just there and you're just laying it down. And, there's no room for any kind of flabby, weak tunes. Do you know what I mean? You just have to keep that energy going, and everybody's staring at you if you play some shit. So.
So tell me about Dungeon Meat. How did you manage to persuade a Frenchman to come and live in Yorkshire with you?
Well, I mean, Sonny's a very unique Frenchman, shall we say. He's almost half Yorkshire anyway. The way that he's, he is upstairs in his head, do you know what I mean? He's a bit of an old soul, somebody that I look up to and respect and admire. He's a great inspiration to me, even though I'm older than him. We both look up to each other, I think, and both really respect what each other's done and what we do, and our own individual styles and flavours. So his sense of humour is very warped and twisted as well. So we got along really well on that front because mine is very warped and weird as well. And so after initially meeting each other, at My Lover's Underground party, I booked them to come and play for the first today. Well, I was the first person to book them in the UK to come and play Back2Basics, and they smashed it. It was brilliant. Then after that, we just built this kind of really nice connection. I was feeling their energy, they were feeling my enthusiasm and my energy towards them. And me and Sammy hit it off, especially again spiritually as much as musically as well. So our souls really connected. And he just, I think he fell in love with basics. I think he fell in love with Leeds. I think he just fell in love with the romance of house music in Yorkshire. And I was part of that. He knew he had good friends here. There was a nice little community of people that he felt comfortable with, and we already had plans to do some stuff together as well. So I think it seemed like a kind of logical step for him. And I think, although he had a really good friend in Stockholm, in Sweden, I think the scene there was a bit drier, and he was a little bit more isolated. we've made a big move from Paris, where obviously we had everything around it, to going to Stockholm, which is a totally different culture, and being on his own a bit more, and then traveling a lot and coming to places like Leeds and feeling this sense of camaraderie and community and just good spirit amongst people. And I think that really kind of won him over, and because he was just solo as well, it was easy for him to pick up sticks and just grab his MPC and his Juno and just come over, and he moved in with Frenchie, and got a nice place with him. And then shortly after that, he met Charlotte, his wife, who was working at Sankey's at the time. I think he met her in Ibiza, actually, at the Zoo Project. So there was quite a lot to kind of call into the UK, and especially to Leeds, which had a great scene at the time. And UK was really receptive to what he was doing as an artist as well. So I think gig wise, and there was Juno here, and a few things that were kind of all playing a part in coming over. So yeah, it wasn't too hard. To answer your question in short, it wasn't too hard to persuade him, and I didn't really need to do much persuading, really. I think it was just a conversation. It's like move over. He's like, yeah. Okay. So it was that simple, really.
So what I was going to say that, yeah, Leeds, it's pretty mad, really. And another thing which seems to be hand in hand with the music there is the fashion. And is that something that's been quite a big part of your life as well?
Yeah, fashion. So I mean, I've always grown up around fashion myself personally, because my dad's in the fashion industry, and Leeds has always been a really funky city like that. So I think it's kind of like it's a very compact, small city centre. I mean, for example, we've got a Harvey Nichols in Leeds. Do you know what I mean? So that says a lot about what the people are like, the demographic. And there's loads of great shops here for clothes. Clubs like Basics and stuff like that in the 90s. It was so dressy. Everybody was like, getting a new shirt for the weekend. It was So it was really like, if you weren't wearing the right clothes, you wouldn't get in. It was like that. It's not really like that anymore. But I suppose it had to be a bit selective at some point, because it was. So many people queuing up to get in, and they wanted the right people in there and stuff. So yeah, fashion has been always quite a big part of the city. Although you see some absolute horrors strutting around on Saturday night or whatever. So yeah, it's not like just because it's got some nice clothes shops doesn't mean it's just like everybody's super trendy or got style. It's quite the opposite, actually.
Yeah, I think it's really changed, actually, because I remember when I was first going to Sankey's, it was like people told me to get in when I was 17, you got to wear this certain type of clothes. I remember to go to like Affleck's Palace, and there's some like cool little boutique shops in there. But that kind of thing seems to have gone a bit out of the scene, I would say. Like, there's not really that kind of... There was that almost... We called it the Raver's uniform. You could always tell when someone was going to Sankey's. They had a certain outfit on. But not that it's a bad thing, but I think people now are kind of... Probably with social media and stuff, like... It's all just a bit more, I don't know, Balenciaga, and I'm get the odd bit of like designer clothes instead. But back in the day, it seemed to be kind of more like this kind of rave outfit that people used to wear.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird now. And you go to, it's the fashion. The fashion just changes, I suppose. Like music, everything goes in cycles and stuff. And I think it's really great when you see people, really expressing themselves with clothes. I think it's amazing, and especially when you go to clubs and people make a bit of effort. I think that's nice. But at the same time, I still don't mind just everybody wearing a t-shirt and sweating the tits off, and that's cool as well. As long as you're having a good time. But I think it's really nice when people make a bit of an effort, and they present themselves nicely. And I was always brought up, my grandmother always said, good clothes open good doors, and she's true. She's right. Sorry, should I say? It is true. People do judge you on, when they look you up and down, and we're like computers, really, aren't we? We make these kind of calculations and judgments, before you've met somebody. So it is good to give yourself a bit of a head start, and your body is your billboard. So presenting yourself the best you can is always, I think, a good move. and and it doesn't necessarily have to mean spending a lot of money. It just means kind of having a bit of style and putting yourself, like when you're making music, put you into your style, and because style never goes out of fashion, and fashion is for people who haven't got style. So that's that really.
Well said. So you talk about making music. It looks like you've been making a few beats in the new space. How's that been going?
A lot of stuff. Yeah. Most days been in here, weaving away. This whiteboard on the back here, it's got a lot of shit on it. Almost too much. At the moment. I've got about 6 remixes on there, and my own projects, as well. So, yeah, sure, like a lot of people, my trouble is just finishing stuff and getting through that grind of that last quarter of the creative process. I've never done any training or education courses or anything like that about making music. It's all been self-taught, and I went down the route of just teaching myself rather than getting people to make tunes for me, which some of my mates did. They kind of collaborated with people who knew how to make music, and they just got them to make it for them. They gave the ideas and kind of ghostwriting, I suppose, but collabing as well, whatever. I never went down that route. I just thought, I'm just going to batter away at this because I don't want to have to rely on somebody else to make music. I want to be able to switch on my machines at midnight, be able to do something in my own back. So yeah, I've been making a lot of stuff, getting better and better. As time goes on, you kind of get, more familiar with the machines. You pick up more skills, more tips, more tricks, more knowledge on, the fundamentals and the technical side of things, which, I've still got a long way to go. It's a long road for anybody who's making music. Even if you've been doing it 20 years, you'll still feel that there's another 20 years that you've got to go to get to where you want to be. So, yeah, it's an endless road, a road that I'm quite happy to trundle along. Yeah, I'm just doing the best I can. I've got a lot of unfinished stuff, a lot of different projects. Going to be starting another label or two soon as well. So I'm just kind of making stuff for that, really. I've got my Freakenstien project, which I've been really enjoying making music for. And so, yeah, I've been making all kinds of different stuff. Mostly house, mostly electro. Stuff like that. I've found that making higher energy stuff's been really good therapy for me, really good tonic to get some of the out of me, the tension out of me, from not going out the weekends and playing and stuff. It's been kind of a bit of an exorcism, which has been great. So yeah, the BPMs have been getting.
Yeah, I saw an MPC has made its way into the studio, or has that been there for a while?
It's been there for a while now. I've got two. I've got a 2000 XL, which actually was my first wage from working for 2020 Vision Recordings. Was Ralph Lawson gave me the MPC that him and Carl Finlow were using back in the day.
Sick.
So I had that at a very early age, and I didn't use it for a long time. I didn't really get my head around it. I was a bit of a late starter with the whole production thing. I was more into kind of collecting records and DJing and spinning and stuff. So I kind of left it alone for a while, but then I realised that actually it's a beast, and started getting into it. Made a few tunes with it, and then I was kind of like, oh, I really like the look of the MPC 3000, and saw a lot of people that I really admired were using it and stuff. So I saw one one was on eBay, I think, and I had 800 quid in my bank account, and I just bid 800 quid. I just left it. I just thought, I'll put 800 quid on it. If I win it, I win it. And I won it for 800 quid. It's worth about 3.5 grand now. You know what I mean? So that was a good investment. and it's just fucking it's a beast. It's great to use it, and just really just the vibe of it. You can just get going really quickly when you're making beats and tracks and stuff, and just instantly you sound like these swingy fucking masters like Paul Johnson and Masters at Work or Todd Terry or whatever instantly. So.
Yeah, it's been something on my list, but I've gone for the. Have you seen the SP2400? The remake of the SP12000.
S2400 pilot instruments. I've got one ordered as well, mate. I've ordered it myself. I'm fucking dying for it to turn up now.
Yeah,
absolutely dying for it.
I did mine last September.
Really?
Yeah, man. So we've got a long road ahead. I think the next two batches is covering everything, though. I think we're probably going to get one. I think if you ordered it after August last year, you basically, it's no difference if you did it then or did it now. Because I think the next two batches are nearly done. But yeah, man, I've been waiting since September.
I ordered mine in April or May. I think it was May actually. I ordered it. I got some of the self-employment income support scheme stuff from the government.
So straight on that.
I also sold a Rolex box as well for £1,000 as well that I wasn't using. So I just kind of thought, well, I've got that money there from there. That's a little buffer, and I've got this money from the Rolex box. I'll just spunk all the money on the Rolex. On this new machine that I've been starving after a SP1200 for a long time, but they've just been financially out of my reach. When you've got a family and stuff, and you've got NPCs and things like that, it's hard to justify spending another £3,000 on something that does pretty much the same thing. So when I saw the Hide Instruments version come along, I was just like, oh, I fancy a bit of that, because part of the appeal was that it really updated the workflow as well, and it really kind of took away a lot of the limits that the SP had. Even though the sound might be slightly different or whatever, it's the same spirit in the machine, but it's just hyped up and souped up for the 21st century. So I'm really excited about getting it. Like I say, I ordered mine in May. They said July, August. We're nearly halfway through July now. I reckon it's probably going to be August by the time I get it. Just making sure I've got like a couple £100 for when the import tax drops as well.
Oh yeah, fuck.
You're gonna have to pay the extra customs charges for that as well. I was really cheeky. I got in touch with them. I was like, do you think you could, just put it down for a bit less? A bit less money. They were like, no, sorry, we can't do that. We'll go to jail. Do you know what I mean? Sort of thing. So I was like, okay, I better make sure I've got £300 in my, put aside so I can pay for the customs charges when it comes, because that's always a bit of a stinger, isn't it? When you order something from, the States, and then you think, yeah, it's coming, and then you get like a little slip through the door. It says, well, you can't have it yet. We're holding you ransom. We're holding it ransom, basically. Holding it hostage, sorry. And there's your ransom note there. It's £300 to get it, So the last thing I want is for it to arrive and for me to, be short of a few bob and not be able to go and pick it up straight away.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that, actually, because I'm always just doing my drums inside the box, but I think that should really help me, I don't know, to get more creative and actually properly get stuck into it, and I'm hoping that I can really make it part of my workflow in the long run.
Yeah, I listened to Convo with Sammy and stuff as well, and I think what he was saying was just take a synth and just have it at home or something, and with the S2400, and just get really into that. Obviously, get yourself a SD card, load it up with all your favorite kits, so they're just really easy to access, because a lot of the things with the MPCs and all this kind of stuff is the sampling time and all that sort of stuff. When you're sampling stuff in, which is great to do, because sometimes these machines sound better when you actually sample into it. The processors work nicer than when you're just using the card or whatever, because I know the MPC works really nicely when you sample into it. It sounds much better when you use it off the disc, So that's one thing to consider. But at the moment, I've also got a Torres SP16 as well that Pioneer just gave me, along with the AS1, which is the Dave Smith. It's all the Dave Smith gear, basically. They were very kind and gifted me the Torres gear. So I've got at home, I've got the SP16 and I've got the AS1 mono synth, Dave Smith mono synth as well, with my MPC 2000 just at home in my living room. So I've got that little setup there. So if I'm, it's always looking at me. So, and I got in last night from the studio and I was just messing around on that. So it's just nice for me to be able to dive into that, just on its own without having all the other stuff around. I think that's the best way to learn a piece of kit, is to just isolate it with maybe another piece of kit and just learn how to use it that way.
Yeah, I agree. So, where were we?
Oh, right, hold on, let me just turn my light on again. I turned it off because I hate this light. I have my studio quite ambient and dark. I've got lots of different, sort of mood lighting in here, but this is like the kind of brighter, see me on computer light.
Yeah, that's one thing I hate in my studio is I always just have like these LED strips around the roof because it kind of makes a nice gentle light, whereas when you turn the actual lights on, man, it's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit like that in mine, actually, as well. You can see the ceiling in mine. It's just like fucking horrible office sort of ceiling, but, I've made the place nice, you know what I mean? I've put all my own touches in basically a square shell, you know what I mean? I need to get some acoustic treatment in here, which is the next thing I'll probably invest in after buying the S2400 is I'm going to get some really nice acoustic treatment, some sound diffusion, stuff like that. I want nice stuff though. I want stuff that looks really nice. I want wooden, they've got these ones down at Devon Analog, and I said, where did you get these fucking things from? And he was like, I was really lucky. I was looking on eBay, and there were these sound diffusers that came out of an old jazz recording studio, basically. And they're like these beautiful wooden things with they look like, they're almost like shelves, basically. And he's got things like tambourines and stuff put on them and stuff. And I thought, I want something like that looks nice, kind of has another function. So if I did want to put something on it, I could. And it works, so it's got a function, it looks good, and it's aesthetically pleasing, because I don't like a lot of these kind of just like a foam room and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? I want to be somewhere that just kind of, it feels nice to be in.
Yeah, I think the aesthetics though helps loads, doesn't it? Just being somewhere that feels nice, and that's what's so good about Devon. I think not only is it full of amazing kit, I think the whole atmosphere, the vibe, the look just makes you want to make music.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, you've been down there, right? Yeah, you went with Alfie, didn't you? Yeah. So yeah. I went down for 3 days, but I was clever about it. So I travelled down the day before, and I made sure that I travelled the day after as well. So I had like 5 days blocked out for it, but I had 3 solid days in the studio, and I remember going down there, and I couldn't sleep the first night. I was so excited. I woke up at about 5:45, and I opened the bedroom door, and the sun was just coming up, because you can actually from the studio you can see the sunrise, and I was just like, "Fuck, this is just amazing, so inspiring," and really kind of set the tone for what I kind of wanted to have my spaces like, really, not just these kind of like, just drab, foam-filled rooms, that made sound and function well. I wanted somewhere that was like an extension of my home, so I could, it's got plants and it's got artwork and it's got couch and comfort. I bought a little mini Martin Audio sound system as well over lockdown, the smaller rigs, 2 subwoofers, two tops, so I could have, a nice sound system in there as well, make tunes, test them on the system, have a mix with mates, some little lockdown lock-ins and stuff, stuff like that. So yeah, I absolutely love the space. I spoke to the landlady the other day. I kind of said, I don't really want to ask this question, but I kind of need to. How long have I got left here? Because it was the kind of question I didn't really want to have the answer to if it was going to be a short amount of time. And she said at least 18 months to 2 years. So I've got this place for that long. So, and I think after this place goes, I'll have to find somewhere else, because I'm just like, I can't have everything in the house anymore now.
I was going to say that. Is it one of those things that now you've got the external space, you can't believe you never used to not have one?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, totally that. You know, I literally, I had everything in my living room, and you know, my poor missus and my poor daughter, you know, had to, you know, play Twister around all these wires and cables, you know, synthesizers and large cash register looking MPCs and stuff like that. You know, so it wasn't really fair on them, and also it wasn't very productive either because you know, I was so distracted at home and in such a frame of mind when you're at home, get up in the morning, scratching nuts, and you know, just equipment's there, and it's just a whole different state of mind. So getting your clothes on, getting breakfast, going out, getting down to the studio, getting there, you know, switching everything on is much more of a you know, ritual that is kind of, you know, feels like you're going to work.
I was about to say it's the going to work. It's just the whole motion, isn't it, and the habit and routine of doing it.
Yeah, and you know, I'm so grateful for this place to have that, and it's been a godsend over lockdown as well to have that escape outside of the house. You know, because I can imagine some people just climbing up the walls, being in the same rooms for, you know, the duration of time that everybody had to kind of endure. You know, so having this place for me to escape to was really great for my, you know, sanity, really. You know. And good for the family as well, because I wasn't, you know, it wasn't like, you turn that down sort of thing, you know, while I'm, you know, wanting to be creative and make music. There's nothing worse than being told to turn it down, you know, when you want to make music and you want to make some noise, you know. Working with headphones is just not really something that I gravitate to. It's something that, you know, I can do, you know, but it's not a choice, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's funny because I've been doing the whole SYNTHO thing last year and having to use headphones because of feedback when recording tutorials. I've actually got very good at using headphones, and it's helped me a lot, you know, because now I know the headphones so well and I know the speakers so well. It's really allowed me to reference between the two, whereas before this, I used to hate headphones and I still don't really like them, but I've really learned how they sound, and it's a headphone, it's quite accurate as well, so
Yeah, I think that's the problem with my room at the moment. It's not treated, so I'm making music to the room. You know, I'm not making. When I listen to some place my stuff on my Martin audio system, I'm like, sounds so shit. You know, so it's different. What comes out my album speakers to what comes out of the Martin audio can sometimes be night and day. So it's really interesting to hear that. And I need a decent pair of headphones. Most of my headphones are all DJ headphones. So I've got the IIIs, I've got Pioneer headphones, I've got the HD. I've got about 6 pairs of HD 25s that I never use anymore. You know, I just need some proper nice studio cans now. You know, just so I can, you know, reference like you know, like you say, so I can get that better, you know, sort of reference point on it.
Which headphones have you resorted to for DJing out of interest?
So I've got the IIIs, which I really like the sound of. I've used those for quite a few years now. And then recently I got a pair of the Pioneer version of the HD25s that they made. So they made a pair of Pioneers, which was basically just to kind of compete against the HD25s. And they are so much better than the HD25 sound-wise.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like loads better. And they're more comfortable. They're better. For me, my personal opinion anyway, because I've never really found the HD25s are that great sound-wise. And they actually broke recently, and then I got into Pioneer, and they sent me another pair of like the updated versions of them, and they're really nice as well. So I think I'm going to take them on the road for the next few gigs. But also the Sony ones as well. I was literally I was going to buy some of the Sony ones, HDR. I can't remember what they are now, but they're the ones that a lot of people use, the square ones. They've been around for years. You know, they're like old school Sony ones. I used to have a pair years and years ago. Do you know which ones I mean?
I think I do, yeah. But I've always, I think they look retro, don't they? Yeah.
the ones at Delgado and Ghost and, you know, Christine AB and all these boys are kind of using and stuff, you know, quite sort of a little bit more square on the ear, fit over. But they've got really, really good reviews actually, as like an all-rounder, you know, so they're not only good for DJing, but they're quite good for referencing as well. You know, Sony is a really good brand, so. And they're really, really, really affordable. So I think for anybody out there looking for a new pair of headphones, I would recommend kind of looking at these Sonys. Yeah, because they're just, they seem to be all round. And they're only like 89 quid, whereas if you go to the Sennheisers, to the other one, Pioneers and IIIs, they're all getting up to the £150 mark.
Yeah, I've gone through like 5 pairs of Sennheisers in a very short period of time. One of the cables always seems to go, or I've lost a few pairs, but they seem to be cursed, them ones for me.
Yeah, well, that's why they make it all replaceable, which is good. But yeah, there's a phone on ones which look really nice as well. Sammy's got those. He was, I think he got them out in Japan. I'm not sure. But he knew the guy that had kind of launched the company, so managed to get a pair at a good price. I think they're around about 250, nearly 4. Some of them are 400 quid or something like that. But they're supposed to be the nuts as well.
Yeah, there's quite a few to choose from. The AIs, though, I don't like how they feel on your head. They feel a bit stiff, I think. That's why I like the HU25s, because they're so like, well, I guess they're almost too flimsy, but I feel like they're more kind of session-proof.
I just got the AIs with really good sound, so
yeah,
really gelled with that. What have you got in your head at the moment?
These are the Bayer Dynamic DT770s. They're only about 90 quid, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're I literally got them for my brother when he went to uni for a year, and then I kind of taxed them when he came home, and he's not seen them since. But man, I really, really enjoy using them. I think just because I can hear the detail so much better in these, and then I can crank it on the speakers then and get more of the party vibe. But when I make tunes on these, I seem to get a bit more intricate in the little bits and bobs, because I can just hear a bit more. And the only thing is, though, I just feel like they fry your brain a bit with the big muffs.
Yes, exactly that. Yeah. Well, I think I need to invest in something like that, just so I've got it, there at hand. Yeah, I think that's a really useful tool to have for anybody. And also when I'm at home as well, you know, I've just got my little mini setup at home. You know, I can just plug them into the mixer and just have them on when I'm making tunes at home as well, which is always good.
So how is summer looking for you then?
Looking pretty mega, to be honest, mate. Actually, I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, obviously, I had to scratch off a few gigs when the.
It was annoying that same which is annoying.
You know, I think I had about 5 or 6 gigs or something like that. You know, which was great. You know, but obviously a bit of a poo in the punch bowl when I had to kind of wipe them off, you know. But yeah, it's looking good. So this, I was supposed to be at Brett this weekend, so I'm not at that now, but that was on the card, so that was good. And then the week after, I'm playing at the Cause unannounced. I'm playing at a night called Forms in Vauxhall, which is more of a garagey kind of vibe. And then I'm playing at Percolate, doing a Freakenstien gig on the Sunday, I think. But I'm still yet to hear back from them, because that was another gig that was cancelled that they were rescheduling. And then yeah, we're into August then. And then beginning of August, I've got like obviously You&Me birthday, which is going to be lit, as they say.
Yes.
And then I think I might have a double up that day, actually. I think there's Percolate doing an Orange Summer Yard party or something as well. So I need to speak to you guys about what time our set time is and stuff, and try and work in between everybody. Because I want to end up in Manchester. I don't want to.
You guys are closing, so hopefully it should be all sweet.
Okay, great. Yeah. So that works for me. And yeah, because I wanted to end up in Manchester, closer to home, with other mates, you know, and just and do that. And then then it's Houghton Festival. Oh, you know, praying for that, because I think, you know, we all need a little bit of that, just to let rip in a field. I've been seeing all these like videos of like Nostromo Festival and all these other things of people all over the world doing their little festivals, and it's really made my mouth water. So I'm so chomping for some action in the field, and Houghton is the pinnacle. There's no better than that. And then so then there's other gigs, other clubs, between You&Me, Tristan da Cunha, Freakenstien. There's stuff happening pretty much every week. And then Dimensions Festival in September.
Hide&Seek as well.
Hide&Seek as well. Yeah, so that's a bit of a sticky one, because I'm Hide&Seek on the Saturday, and then I'm at Dimensions on the Sunday.
So is KRN, I think. We're announced the lineup tomorrow, actually, and KRN is on Dimension Sunday as well, so you won't be alone.
Right, that's cool. So yeah. I think I'll probably just travel from Manchester. I'll bring all my Freakenstien gear with me and just travel from Manchester and come from there. If I had Hide&Seek not been happening, I'd have gone over to Dimensions and spent, the weekend over there. As it stands now, I'm probably just going to go Sunday to Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. I don't know. Maybe have a little mini holiday, little break, something like that. But so that's that, and then October, just working on an American tour, Miami, New York, Chicago. Trying to find something in LA at the moment as well. So, but I'm quite happy just to stick along the East Coast really for this one. Then go over again and hit the West Coast and spend a bit of time over there. LA, San Fran, and that sort of stuff. So keen to get out there and start building a bit of a name for myself and a bit more of a following, because I've not really been out there sort of playing that much in the past, and it just seems like the kind of gates are quite nicely open at the moment, and there's quite a good little sort of scene bubbling up over there again, which is good. And there's also Mexico as well. Some stuff happening there, and so I just chatted to my mate Bruno Schmidt yesterday, and he was just over in Mexico, and he was just saying he's putting in a good word for me, and that the scene over there is really happening. So fingers crossed to get to go over there at some point, and then yeah, I mean obviously hopefully Slapfront gets rescheduled and stuff like that. But ADE, that'll be happening pretty much actually. Yeah, ADE before I go to America actually, so I might be going to America with a bit of hangover.
It sounds like a very good year then. I think the only, well, not the only, but a big positive from this such a big break is that everyone's going to be going full steam ahead, and I think every single party will be packed to the rafters for the foreseeable future.
I think so, and I think there's going to be a real wave of just excitement and enthusiasm that's kind of been missing a lot, I think, for a while. Generally, and there was a lot of saturation as well going on. So I think, the right things hopefully are going to come back, and people that are really serious about throwing parties are going to be taking the risks and putting the events on. Because before there was just any Tom, Dick and Harry who thought they could make $1 here and there, putting events on, and it was saturating cities really, to be honest. There was too much choice on a Saturday or a Sunday or a Friday night, in most of the northern cities. I know that, in Leeds there's probably a core of, maybe 1,000 to 2,000 people that are into the music that we're into. And when you've got 3-4 events on at the weekend, some of those are going to fall short, so there's going to be some shit events going on. Whereas now I hope that there's sort of like, there's a little bit more, just sort of streamlined a bit more, and people that are in it for the wrong reasons have kind of, redirected themselves into other things. And I think just obviously from the crowd's point of view, people have just been starved of just, socializing and good music, the spiritual ritual of dancing, transcendence, from the dance floor, and being able to lose their minds and, leave their body in a way, and just and all be together and united when we've been so separated and divided as well, so it's going to play a massive part in kind of, accelerating, as a society, to a better place, I think. And also, I think there's been a few articles which I've read recently which have kind of reflected back to previous times in our history where, post-prohibition, post-war, these kind of things where art and culture had these massive booms. And I think we're going to be due a boom as well. If you think about how many people have been beavering away over lockdown, making tunes, making paintings, art, writing books, having something to say about what's going on, because there's been a hell of a lot of shit that's been going on, and we've been faced with a lot of adversity and a lot of challenges. And with that comes, this, this burst of expression and, intellectualizing and theorizing and all these things. So you just get all this great art popping up. Do you know what I mean? It's why, places like Detroit and stuff like that have been so rich with their kind of art and music and stuff, because they've had this kind of resistance, and these kind of, challenges and hurdles and obstacles to kind of get over, and the music's really helped them do that. And I think that's obviously been, personally for me, an absolute godsend. I'm sure it has been for you to be able to have this whole project to pour yourself into, and then outside of that, music to make and stuff like that. God knows where we'd be if we didn't have that.
Yeah, it's very true that you say that. And I think having this space right back at the start, you said when everything stopped, you realised how much headspace you actually have. But when we were going for 100 miles an hour pre-COVID, I felt like I had no more extra room to put anything else in. Well, I don't think I did, really. And having that step back, you kind of realise, like, shit, there is so much going on in the world and so many things I could be doing. And now you actually have time to stop. You kind of soak it all in a bit more.
100%, yeah, totally, and that's what I mean. You can kind of recalibrate, realign yourself, and think about, okay, what do I need to do to get where I want to go? What do I need to do to get what I want to get out of life? And what do I want to achieve? What are my goals? You know what I mean? And it's important to have those conversations with yourself. So yeah. What else was it? I had something else that I was going to say, but I've forgotten now. It'll come to me in a minute.
Yeah, so personally, have you kind of set yourself music goals as a DJ that you want to achieve within the next few years then now?
I think that's all. Yeah. I mean, I think I definitely know I want to achieve more. I mean, one of the things that kind of motivates me is kind of death, really, kind of the thought of checking out of the party without of realizing and my full potential and optimizing all my skills and I think in life you regret what you didn't do rather than what you did do more. So, I would regret not having achieved some of the things that I want to achieve, and I want to put out albums. I want to tour the world. I want to, create a band. I want to perform on stage. I want to do live sets. Do you know what I mean? All these kind of things are goals of mine that I want to work towards, and I've already started working towards some of them. Whether that be just jotting down in my little planner, my little book that I have, ideas, what do I want it to look like, what do I want it to feel like. If I'm going to do an album, what's the ingredients for it? It's going to be like George Clinton meets, Derek May meets fucking Maurice Fulton or whatever. And what does it look like? Well, it's going to look like this, it's going to look like that, and just kind of visualizing a lot of stuff as well, I think is really important. And then, kind of, I think getting it out is really, really good exercise as well, to kind of, taking the first steps into making things happen. Having a plan is definitely a way forward. I'm good at planning, but I'm not so good all the time at executing it and time managing, and when you work for yourself and you're working solo, it's quite easy to let some of these things slide and just and ride into the next chapter, or that didn't get finished. I didn't meet that deadline then, so I'll go do that. And then things start to clog up and backlog then and stuff. So that's when you can start to get a bit of overwhelm and a bit of, a bit of kind of fuzz and fog, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot on. So yeah, it's good to kind of try and have a bit of a game plan.
Yeah, it's always a hard one because it's kind of an unspoken of thing in our industry, I think, the whole planning thing. And I don't know, it feels almost weird saying you want to achieve greatness in this game, because it almost sometimes is like I don't feel like anyone speaks about it, but obviously everyone wants to do something amazing and no one wants to die without realizing their potential. I think that's something that really scares me, probably, is looking back and thinking, shit, I didn't fulfill my own potential. But yeah, I think the whole plan.
You are now. You're doing it now, and you're really coming into your own now, and it's great to see. You've sort of blossomed and bloomed in this area, and you're doing it in the right way, and you're following your heart and your art, and that's all you can do. And you seem to be professional about it, and you've set yourself up nicely with it. You've got a nice crew to work with. You've got your party. You've got your studio there. Sometimes you've got to just like take stock of all the little things and just think, actually, all those that you might have thought you were wasting your time, or you might have not, but you've got to this point now, and that all those parts have been a part of that. So it's about kind of just being able to see things.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Yeah, it's funny because planning, you're almost looking out to the future, and then sometimes you can really forget to look behind you and see what you've actually achieved, especially in this DJ game, because it's almost like it's an infinite game, isn't it, really? There's only a very select...
The next. You know what I mean? I've done that, so what next? And yeah, it's good to kind of look over your shoulder and take stock. That's why doing these things, I always really enjoy them, because it allows me to kind of just, think about things and have these conversations and think, I've done all right. You know what I mean? But I know I can do better. And, I have been thinking, obviously, about, other streams of income, passive income. Obviously the pandemic's shown what House of Cards, the whole DJ and music and nightlife industry is. A pandemic could come again and smash us around the face, and we could be in the same situation again. So you kind of have to think about that, and maybe make some moves to make sure that you're not using gigging as so much of a crutch. Gigging really, in an ideal world, should be the cherry on the top, which is what I want to direct myself to doing. And that means I can have a healthier life with it as well. I can pick and choose the ones that I want. I can, have space in between them and stuff. I don't have to have such like hectic schedules and stuff like that, which can be quite, exhausting and put a lot of stress on you without even really knowing it, So there's all of that. But yeah, I mean, I've been sort of, doing a few other little bits, and I've got a couple of other little avenues that are, starting to, sprout now. Like I've been asked to be like a scout for a publishing company as well, which my friends have just set up this new publishing company called Rewrite. And it's re as in, and then write as in RIGHT as in correct. And they want to rewrite the kind of publishing game a bit, because it's such a foggy, hazy, mysterious world, which not a lot of musicians kind of understand, and a lot of the time it doesn't really work in their favour. So they're setting up a new publishing company. They're good friends of mine that I've known for a lot of time. Basically I've become a scout for them, really. One of the guys that runs it used to do all the music law for YouTube and for Google.
Yeah.
In San Francisco. So he's moved over to Portugal now, and they've approached me to be, a bit of a scout for them, to kind of bring clients and people on, and they're going to be looking at syncing stuff with Netflix and Rockstar Video Games and, adverts and stuff like that as well. So it's about making, your music work for you in other ways as well. So it's not just about putting records out, making the money from the records and then getting the gigs. It's about, is there some other avenues?
Monetizing your music. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Maximizing it. Exactly. So, and that I've really kind of opened my eyes up to that now. So I kind of feel really good about going to all my friends and connections and saying, have you thought about publishing, or what's your deal? Because these guys aren't dealing with PRS and stuff like that. These guys are like the PRS and all these guys, my friends see them as like pirates in a way. They don't really do anything, for what they do. They just
tax you. They just tax events. We found out.
Yeah.
We found out recently. They taxed us. We were like, what? How the hell does that work? Like they gave us a massive bill, and it's because my publisher Centric chased PRS for my money. In the end, PRS then rang us up, the festival, and You&Me, and then taxed us. and trust me, the amount they taxed us will not be going back to like me. Like I think it's a bit of a dodgy area.
Well, exactly, mate. And if you're interested in having a conversation with my friends, then I'd gladly hook you up, because these guys are like, they're proper in favour of the artist, and they know exactly where the con is in the publishing game, and they're really trying to obviously create some awareness about that, as well as kind of obviously do their own thing and think they're build something themselves. And these guys are they're really into their music as well. They're not just some like spotty nerds that just know about law. They're like proper music heads that have made music themselves and been in the game themselves, from actually making music, managerial things to the law and everything like that. So yeah, we can have that conversation another time, mate, and you won't be getting these bills coming to you.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think the whole
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the whole different streams of incomes, everyone's open their eyes to that. But you know what you should do? Have you thought about you did that Diggers Directory video? I'm going to be doing more YouTube stuff. You should take things out to YouTube, man, because if you build a YouTube platform up over a lifetime, man, it's paid media.
Yeah, you know what? Because I'm 42, I'm from a slightly different generation to you, Josh. So I'm kind of just catching up with a few of these things. You know what I mean? Like, in terms of like, oh, okay, a lot of younger people now are making full-on careers out of these, platforms and these things. So I'm keen, I'm game, and I'm a fast learner, and I'm up for actually, looking into all these things. But yeah, I'm going to be doing some more diggers. I'm thinking of like, every time I go to a little record shop or do something when I'm on the move, I'm going to do, I'm going to do a little digger's diary and continue that. So yeah, YouTube is a good shout, mate. I might do that. And I've also hooked up with that new app called Digger. It's a new app that uses GPS technology to show you anybody that's in the area that you're in that sells records. And it's not just it's not connected to Discogs. It's basically, if you've got 50 records for sale and you upload them to this Digger site, then people can come and have a private viewing or come meet on the street and buy a record off you and stuff like that. So really, really good, vision. I think I'm right behind it. I just hope it takes off. They're just in the process of launching it, and I think it's going to be next week. They're going to be launching it for Record Store Day properly. They've just been beta testing it and stuff. Early stages at the moment, but I think it could potentially. I think it could really, really blow up. Whether it's
it sounds good, that.
But I think it could be a really great thing to build a community. So there's that as well that I'm involved in, and then there's also a thing in Leeds called Launchpad, which is a Arts Council funded social enterprise, which I approached again over lockdown to do some work with, and they've asked me to be an advisor stroke mentor for some of the up and coming artists within Yorkshire. It's all Yorkshire based, so it's really exciting to be able to help local talent around me sort of navigate in the music, navigate themselves and their careers in the music industry, and carve their own path, and hopefully be able to give them a leg up, and along the way maybe even collaborate with some of these talents. I just did the first round of applications, and it was great. Lots of folk music and guitar music and drill and trap and all different kinds of genres which are out of my sort of sort of professional spectrum, but music that I still appreciate and like to listen to, and so that's exciting as well. So I look forward to kind of delving into that a little bit more as well. So yeah, a few little other things which are kind of bubbling and that are cool. Yeah, so it's all about just kind of having those multiple streams of income at the moment. And like you say, YouTube is a great one. I think something I need to explore.
Yeah, I think for me, it's like openly admit it that I want to try and be able to monetize this podcast, and then also be able to monetize my YouTube, because it's just another thing, that if you do 300 podcast episodes, I think there's a high chance you'll have monetized it by then. I think it's just churning out, it's just doing the reps, just getting the episodes out and having good conversations.
Yeah, exactly. It's just about turning up, making it regular, doing it, you know what I mean? And then, the snowball grows then, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? If you keep the momentum going, and that's when things start to happen. And if you do it in the right way as well, like you are, then you'll find your audience, and it's growing. What we're into is really growing. There's a lot of people out there that are really, interested in it now. So I think there's a good chance of you hitting that goal, mate. Do you make anything at the moment on YouTube or?
No, well, I've not checked yet. I think I can be eligible for paid, because I've got enough. I've had a lot with me. It's because they're such long things. I think it's actually quite hard to really catch it on YouTube. I think podcasting's obviously better with your Apple and all that stuff, but I am planning to do more solo YouTube purpose videos, so it's kind of like your Diggers Directory, sharing my days, sharing some insights about putting on club nights, sharing preparation for gigs, things like that. I think that will probably catch on more with YouTube. I think podcasts, it's a big commitment, man, to watch a fucking podcast.
Yeah. Well, to watch it is. To listen to it isn't so much.
Exactly.
You get on with your bits and your bobs. Do you know what I mean? So I've mainly been listening to yours on Spotify.
Yeah.
That's how I've been accessing them. So I like using Spotify. It's cool, even though it's what it stands for financially isn't great. But it's as a convenience, it works really well, especially when I get home and I'm like, Alexa, play SYNTHO. You know what I mean? And it just comes on. It's great for all that. So yeah. I think it's definitely the way forward for sure. Yeah, totally.
So Tristan, we'll wrap it up there because my camera's doing my head in and it's distracting me now.
Yeah.
And we'll have to do. I'm excited to do part twos of people when the clubs start again because it's going to be such a different conversation,
Yeah, let's definitely do a part two because I think it's nice to kind of obviously build a bit of a relationship, not only between you and I, but also between the audience as well. They can kind of get to know you a little bit more as well, and I always like kind of working with people that I kind of admire and respect as well, and you're one of those. So it's going to be, it's definitely going to be more to talk about. I haven't even really talked about half the projects that I'm working on.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely do a part two. I feel like this one's quite a good one for people to get to know you, and then the next ones we can delve even deeper then.
Yeah, we can get a bit more nerdy then about music, making music, processes. We can, have a little, sort of bird's eye view of my kind of setup or, my thought process about how I make tracks, what I've got going on, labels, running labels, kind of, putting yourself out there, having a career that lasts, 20 odd years like mine has and stuff. There's definitely a lot more we can go into for sure.
Yes, let's do a part two then. So we'll probably, I'll see you now, hopefully in a few weeks at You&Me. Hopefully with Sammy as well.
The swords are sharpened. We're locked and cocked and loaded and ready to go bang, maybe. Yeah, it's for sure. We can't wait.
So yeah, you may notice the podcast cut out there before properly saying bye to each other. I don't know what happened, like I said at the start. And if you listen this far, big up. Don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, 31 episodes. Epic shit. And big love to everyone who has been with me on the journey.